Hi, I'm Eric with HyprMX. We're at Pocket Gamer Connects London, and I'm joined by Peter from Playstack. Welcome.
Hi.
Good
Hi,
to
Eric.
have you, man.
Great to be here.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and
Sure.
sort of what led you to Playstack?
Yeah, sure thing. So, hi, I'm Peter Griffin, not the guy from Family Guy. And so my background, I love brands and I love games. That's my background. And I love playing games, love being around games, board games, card games, physical games, digital games, virtual games, whatever. I love games. So my background, after university, let's go back a little bit. My first job was at Google. I was a Googler, as they called themselves. And I worked in media advertising, working with brands and media and digital media at the start of that sort of thing, because I'm a little bit old. And then from that, I moved into board games and card games. I worked for a company who are a licensee of Hasbro. And we're working with games like Monopoly and Cluedo and Trivial Pursuit and cool games like that, working with brands into physical board games, card games. And I love doing that, working with brands and how they could be part of board games and play, and seeing people play with games like, hang on, there's something in this. And then when I spoke to Harvey, who's chief exec of Playstack, we thought there's an opportunity here to take those learnings from people playing with board games into video games. And here I am.
And here we are, absolutely. Because traditionally people think of Playstack as a developer, as a publisher.
Sure.
My favorite is Snipers versus Thieves.
Great game.
So before we jump into maybe what you've really been working on,
sure.
What's on the kind of the developer side for Playstack? Are there games coming out? What's the focus?
So Playstack, we are a publisher. We've been around for over 5 years now, set up to be games first, to help create great games and bring them to market, to publish them. We develop our own games, we publish games, we finance games, and that's what we're about. And we've got a great lineup of games coming that we are already publishing, and there's some more adding to the portfolio, and it's growing and growing.
And I know how it goes. You probably can't talk too much about the new stuff coming, so I won't push you too much.
That's right, but there's some good stuff on. There's good stuff, and good stuff across. I know Pocket Gamer Connects, and there's some wonderful mobile games, but also some really cool console games that are coming out. Some. I wish I could say more, but there's some really cool games to play. I can't wait to play them.
Awesome. Well, I'm extremely excited.
Cool.
But one thing I can't overlook either is this beautiful sweatshirt, Interact by
Sure.
Playstack. I think that's what we're really here to talk about.
Sure, yeah.
So please tell me, what is Interact by Playstack?
Yeah, Interact by Playstack. So this is what we've been working on. So I've been in the company for 1.5 years now, and this is what we've been doing. So Playstack, as you know, we publish games. We've been doing this for a few years now of very subtly, very quietly, working with brands in some of our games in our portfolio. Of course, we had the game Snatch, which became Dibs last year, where we were serving brand rewards within games. And it was brilliant. We realized there was something in there. When you serve brand rewards to players, when you win something, you tend to want it. Mm-hmm. And so we thought, okay, there's something in that. Let's play with that a bit more. And it evolved. And here we are with Interact. So Interact is our way of taking all our learnings and that technology of serving brand rewards in games, not only in our own games portfolio that we develop, not only in the games that we publish, but to any games out there. So they can use our Interact SDK to serve other brands, branded rewards, brand display, and brands within their games, so their players can experience what we've experienced.
Perfect. So in essence, it sounds like this is Playstack becoming a bit of an ad network.
Yeah, for sure. Not exclusive. When Playstack isn't losing that publishing part, we see this absolutely hand in hand with what we do. We are a publisher. As I've said, our ethos is about making great games and helping games developers be great for players. So we're absolutely keeping doing that for sure. This is providing a tool to those developers to reward and to benefit their players in another way. By getting brands to be, as we call it, part of the play.
Because this is essentially a new ad unit. I mean, in most mobile games, we're talking rewarded video, interstitial, standard banner ad sizes. Yeah. But in-play or in-game advertising, however you want to call it, is new. So what made that exciting for Playstack to want to dive in, and why should developers be interested in this?
Well, it's the belief that we've got as a company, and all of us individually hold as well. And I think a lot of people do too. And I talk to my friends and say I've moved into mobile gaming, like, oh, mobile gaming, come on, and you play mobile games, and we've all seen it. You play a game and you have to watch this ad to play the next level. Come on, or you have to get rid of that ad to get to the next part. Come on, it's like it's that's not what I love about gaming. I love playing, and I love that experience and that joy. So this is a new way of doing that for sure. It's to say, how can we make branding and adverts in games truly interactive as opposed to interruptive? How do we make brands in play really integrated and native and fun, as opposed to things that, pardon my French, piss people off.
Right.
Yeah.
No, so it's essentially a new revenue stream
Sure.
outside of the standard ad formats. I think that's why it's getting a lot of attention.
Absolutely.
There are multiple, I think, other players.
Yeah. We're
space.
not first to
Right.
this. We're the new kids on the block. Absolutely.
But I think what's going to set you apart, I do think you have
Yeah.
some interesting things that are going to make you a bit different.
What we're doing differently is, we are games first. That's the ethos, as I say, that has brought us through our publishing. And it's what we're carrying into this mentality as well. We want to help brands be truly part of the play in the most creative, interesting, exciting way for the players. That's what we're about. We have a for sure, we can do display advertising. We can get a billboard in a game which looks like it should be there. That's a step forward from normal games advertising, right? That it's a billboard that looks like it should be there, for sure. But then we have a phrase we call beyond the box. How about taking that brand, not just to have a virtual display ad, but what if that brand could be part of playable elements? What if that brand could be saying, imagine a driving game where the whole level was all about, let's say, Deliveroo. Delivery level of a game which is already incredibly successful, delivery driving game. That delivery driver driving through the streets, delivery driver driving up to someone's front door, delivery driver handing a delivery should be paying for me for this, handing over a bag, or congratulations, here's your delivery stuff. And that player who then has delivered that stuff says, hey, isn't Deliveroo great? You should go and do this at Deliveroo. That's how we see brands being truly part of the play, beyond the box, give you all our buzz phrases, interactive advertising.
That sounds amazing. It sounds almost like an in-game takeover where it really is infused in. And then you still have the sort of basic aspect of a display unit, which is really a step forward because it's not a standard display unit, but you're adding it in so many other components that it really sounds exciting.
Yeah.
So from a developer standpoint, I think you're probably selling a lot of people.
Okay, cool.
But I know a question that's going to pop up is,
Sure.
well, how do we work with you? What's the integration process? How do we even know where to put these ads in our game?
So, and the short answer to it all is we have an SDK. So an SDK that really sort of drag and drop SDK, really easy, make it so simple for a developer to make brands part of their play.
And they can work with your team to choose where the ad units will be.
Sure.
Awesome.
Sure, absolutely. From a simple level of where do you want those display billboards, of course, to the more creative parts. And we've got a whole creative team because, again, Playstack being the publisher and developer, we've got that creative expertise to say, how about we try this? How about we try that? How about this part of your game which could be, more creatively done? And again, it's saying, what sort of game can this appear in? Beyond a sports game, beyond a driving game. You know what? We can be creative with any games. We've done this before. We can make this happen for you guys.
It's in the Playstack blood, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, to figure out that creative next step.
Yeah.
Well, you touched on something that I find really interesting. On the HyprMX side,
Sure.
we work with brands as well.
Yeah.
Brand-only ad network. Advertisers care about things like viewability,
Sure.
time on screen. I'm curious, how do you measure even just as simple as an impression?
Impression measurement is such an important part of this. And the trailblazers that we've had doing this have already done a lot of work to establish what is an impression, what's not an impression, what should be charging people for, what shouldn't be charging for. And that's so exciting. From our standpoint, we're saying that we want to be really true, transparent, and honest about what brands we're getting. We want to say if it's an okay impression is not good enough for us. It has to be a truly quality impression. So we're working with the IAB. We're now members of the IAB to establish a standardized impression format with others in the industry to say this is how we're going to track it, guys. That's how impressions need to be recorded.
Speaking of the brands,
Sure.
where is the demand? Where are these brand advertisements coming from?
Wow, that's a really interesting question. It's coming from lots of different areas. So we, because this is new, we cast the net wide, fishing in lots of different ponds to talk to these people over here, talking to agencies, creative agencies, media agencies, out-of-home agencies, talking to brands directly, affiliate networks, saying, okay, where are the bites? And it's sort of, you can imagine all these floats are out in the pond, they suddenly all go down at the same time. And I think there's something about this year that people know. 2021, year of lockdown, gaming went boom. 3 billion people around the world playing games, and I think those messages that lots of games companies have tried to bang on about for a long time are now there. So it's no longer talking to a brand or an agency saying, hey, isn't gaming interesting? It's more like, hey, help! I know gaming is interesting. Please, how do I get into it? So it's genuinely, I think, lots of brands, anyone who's anyone, are having those strategic conversations now to say, how do we actually get into games? And that's across the portfolio. It's what brand can work in gaming? Well, kind of any brand, because if you've got 3 billion people around the world and a demographic that's pretty much 50-50, you can be pretty sure that at least some of your audience is going to be playing games, if not, a huge majority of them. So yeah, those things feed the demand, trickle up, and that's where we get the bites on those hooks.
Yeah, as a brand ad network, we're always excited to have anyone else kind of like speaking that loudly. It has gotten so much better. I think brands know that every user is in a game. It's not just kids, it's not just teenagers.
For sure.
Anyone you want to hit is in games. So I'm excited to see what Interact does in the next year.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure, meeting you this week and talking to you.
Yeah, real treat.
Thanks for coming by, Peter.
Very welcome. Thank you so much.
Take care.